Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. So, I've got some updates coming out from Ukraine to share with you guys. We have reports today that Ukrainian forces have had to withdraw from the city of Vuhledar. We've been hearing about this over the last week that Ukraine was slowly losing it. Looks like Ukraine has had to completely withdraw from Volodar. This is a key city in the Donetsk region in southeastern Ukraine. And Ukraine has been holding on to this city for about 2 to 2.5 years, basically since the start of this war. And they've repelled many Russian attacks from this city. Looks like the Russians have finally taken it over. And we have video footage that we've shown you guys here on this channel before of heavy bombings taking place inside the city of Volodar. Probably some of the heaviest attacks we've seen throughout this war has occurred inside of Volodar. Probably other than maybe Vovchansk, we've reported sometimes out of Vovchansk heavy fighting and heavy bombings over there, as that city has basically been razed to the ground as well, just like Volodar has been. So we're going to talk more about that today and give you some updates in regards to this. The video footage that you're watching here is Russian soldiers putting up some of their flags on destroyed buildings inside of Volodar. So this is video footage directly out of that city is what you were seeing here, okay? So also we have some reports that as of yesterday, Volodymyr Zelensky was speaking at a conference, and he stated that they have officially tested one of their ballistic missiles, and it passed all of its flight tests, okay? So we're going to talk about that as well, because that's some huge news for Ukraine. We may start seeing ballistic missiles flying into Russia here very soon, if they have officially tested it and it has passed all of its flight tests. And then also we're going to talk about a story where we may have had another mass execution event. Right now, Ukraine is investigating upwards of 16 Ukrainian soldiers that were prisoners of war that were supposedly potentially executed by Russian soldiers once again. As we've heard this many times recently over the past few months, especially. So let's go to jump into the news. We're going to talk about several things today. We've got some information on some mainstream sources and also on X, so we're going to kind of bounce around in terms of that. So let's hop on over here to The Guardian just real quick for a moment. Ukraine says its forces have withdrawn from defensive bastion of Volodar. Eastern city had resisted repeated attacks, but Russian troops are close to encircling it in Donetsk advance. Here's a picture of Volodar here completely wiped out. I mean, look at this. Buildings just completely destroyed, okay? About 14,000 residents lived here before the war, and now it has been essentially destroyed. Okay, Ukraine has said that its forces have withdrawn from the eastern city of Volodar, a defensive bastion that had resisted repeated Russian attacks since Vladimir Putin's 2022 full-scale invasion. The military command in Kiev said its troops left late on Tuesday. They had retreated in order to preserve personnel and combat equipment, it said, adding that Russian combat units had attacked from 3 different directions and were close to encircling the city. The fall of Volodar is a boost for the Kremlin and comes as Russian troops advance across the eastern Donetsk Oblast. In February, they captured the city of Avdiivka, outside the regional capital of Donetsk, occupied in 2014. Since then, the Russian advance has swallowed up towns and villages, and come to within 6 miles of the city of Pokrovsk, a logistics hub 80 kilometers or 50 miles north of Volodar. Defense experts think Ukraine may next have to retreat from other under-pressure urban settlements, including Toretsk and Selidov. Okay, so we showed you some video footage not too long ago of Toretsk. Toretsk, heavy fighting happening over there, especially over the last couple months. Definitely lots of chaos happening up in that area too. And Selidov is very close to Pokrovsk, which is that key logistics hub that they were talking about here as well. Okay, so the Russians are definitely getting closer and closer to Pokrovsk. And now that Volodar has fallen, it's definitely going to put the whole Donetsk region at risk for sure, and make it much easier for Russia to gain a foothold in this region. So we're going to hop on over now to X, and I'm going to show you a few more things here. So let's check this out from Glasnost Gone. Having spent 2 years trying to capture it and in the process lost more Russian troops than the town's population of 14,000, Ukrainian forces have withdrawn from Volodar in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. The town no longer exists. It's merely another broken shell, another Donbass town which Russia's destroyed all life. Okay, so we have a few pictures here that I wanted to show you guys. Here's that photo that was on The Guardian, but here it is on full screen. As we can see, lots of devastation in this town. I mean, there's just been heavy bombings here in this city. It's just been hammered like crazy over the last few years. Here's another picture of the outlook of the city. It's really not that big, but approximately about 14,000 people lived here just before the start of the war. So here's an aerial snapshot of the town as well. And then here's a map to kind of show you where Vuhledar's at. Okay, so it's south over here from Pokrovsk. So I think they said something about 80 miles or something like that from Pokrovsk. It's not super close, but it's definitely going to enhance Russia's efforts down here in the southeastern portion. They're going to be able to take over a lot more settlements, and it'll be making it a lot easier for them, as it's a key vital supply route for the Russians. That's why they've been trying so hard to capture the city. So here's Vuhledar down here. Here's Pokrovsk. And as we can see, the Russians are continuing to get closer and closer to Pokrovsk. Now, I haven't heard much movement or updates up in this area in terms of Russia pushing into Pokrovsk or getting any closer to it. It's relatively been, for the most part, pretty stable from what I have seen. We haven't really heard too many updates actually coming out from Ukraine in over a week now. As much of the media attention has been directed over to the Middle East, which is why I've been covering that as well. But we had some good information coming out from Ukraine today, which is why I decided to do an update. So we've also got this from Mario Nafal. Russia seizes Vuhledar after 2 years. Russian troops have captured the eastern Ukrainian town of Vuhledar after intense fighting that lasted nearly 2 years. This strategic victory underscores Russia's military superiority as it controls around 20% of Ukraine and aims to secure the entire Donbass region. Ukraine's Eastern Military Command decided to withdraw to avoid encirclement and preserve resources, while Russian forces continue their rapid advance, employing effective pincer tactics. Vuhledar's capture is significant for Russia as it allows for deeper penetration into Ukrainian defenses and facilitates access to vital supply routes, okay? So see, as you can see here, it's a significant capture for Russia, okay? So it will allow deeper penetration into Ukrainian defenses and also facilitate access to vital supply routes, okay? So that's why Russia's been trying so hard to capture this. This video, unfortunately, I can't show it to you guys. Got some music in it. So I don't want to have any issues with the channel if we show anything with music. So we'll move on to our next update. So I have this video footage that came out just in September 24th, okay, not too long ago. I actually showed you guys this video footage when it was starting to break. We actually have 2 videos here of heavy attacks inside of Vuhledar. And I wanted to show this to you guys so you could see how badly this town was struck. And I mean, from the pictures that we saw, it's really not that big of a town. Again, only 14,000 people lived here, and it's just heavy bombings here. So take a look at these videos. We got 2 of them to show you. So just a quick 6-second clip that came out back in September, not too long ago actually, that was shared by Nexta, and it was just heavy bombings over here inside of Vuhledar. So again, this whole town has just been under heavy fire from 3 different directions. That's why Ukraine had to pull back. And we got one more video over here. I don't think there's any sound to it. Yeah, no sound to it, but we can see a lot of these missiles striking also inside of Vuhledar. And this is definitely something we have seen a lot over the last several months, is just heavy attacks in the city. And I think Russia's been trying to make it a goal for sure by the end of this year to capture this town. And now as of October 2nd, 2024, it has been taken over by the Russians, okay? So very bad news for Ukraine. We've also got some other updates in regards to these ballistic missiles that Ukraine was testing. So I'm going to show you this. United 24 Media, Zelensky says Ukraine can now produce 4 million drones annually with over 1.5 million already contracted. A new class of long-range missile drone, Palinitsia, is already in use alongside other long-range drones and sea drones defending the country. Our new ballistic missile has successfully passed its flight tests. Everyone can now see how our Neptune missiles perform. Okay, so this was something that Volodymyr Zelensky said while he was speaking at this conference. Now, there is no subtitles in this video. He is speaking in Ukrainian, but there's no point really showing it because most of my viewers here probably speak English, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, there are no subtitles. But this was him speaking, stating this during his address here at this conference. So, yeah, so apparently they've got ballistic missiles now that have successfully passed their flight tests, and now they're going to be able to start using these and strike targets inside of Russia. So this to me explains most likely why we're not seeing the West come out and allowing Ukraine to strike targets inside of Russia, because they already technically have their own capabilities. Maybe the U.S. probably has more knowledge, thinking, well, they're going to be ready with their own missiles, and they've got their Neptune missiles as well, their cruise missile. So they're going to be able to strike targets already inside of Russia with whatever they have. But obviously, I know many people want Ukraine to be able to use Western missiles as well, and instead of waiting until these be developed and all and whatnot. But if you noticed here, also something big that he mentioned was that the Palinitsia is already in use. Okay, so we had some video footage coming out of a some sort of military barracks or something in the Bryansk region of Russia just about maybe a month ago. We were reporting strikes on some major arsenals that were being destroyed over the Tula region. It was probably more like about 3 weeks ago. But yeah, we had a video that sounded like a missile had struck one of those barracks. Maybe that's what it was. It was probably the Palinitsia or maybe the Neptune missiles that they're using. But they definitely do have their own capabilities now, and they're going to be expanding them. As I've got this report here as well from the Ukrainian Review. In 2025, Ukraine will increase its own production of drones, long-range weapons, and ballistic missiles. Minister of Defense Umarov at DFNC2 Forum, we have already invested $4 billion in the development of Ukrainian industry, and next year we plan even more, the minister said. More than 280 defense companies took part in the forum. During it, new defense agreements were signed. Look at that, 280 defense companies, guys. I mean, there's got to be so much investment into defense when it comes to Ukraine. Ukraine's probably has so many defense contractor startups all over their country. And again, this explains to me why Ukraine may not be given the ability to strike targets inside Russia using Western-made weapons. Is probably Ukraine on the back end over here is producing so many of their own weapons, they may not need the West at some point. And you know what? Volodymyr Zelensky's already come out and said that many times, that if the U.S. does not give them permission, they will do it themselves. And it looks like they are actively doing that right now. And looks like by 2025, when this war continues into next year, if it does, we are definitely going to see major strikes inside of Russia with Ukrainian produced missiles, okay? So finally, I want to show you this one last thing here that's been talked about a lot over the last 24 hours. This just came out today on Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. October 2nd, 2024, Kiev investigating largest mass execution of Ukrainian soldiers captured by Russia. And it says here, Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office has initiated an investigation into what it describes as the largest mass execution of Ukrainian prisoners of war by Russian troops since the start of Moscow's full-scale invasion more than 31 months ago. According to an official statement published on the office's Telegram channel, Russian forces allegedly killed 16 Ukrainian prisoners of war near the villages of Mykolaiivka and Suky Yar in the Pokrovsk district of the Donetsk region. Videos circulated on various Telegram channels appear to show Ukrainian soldiers freshly captured by Russian troops emerging from a forested area. After the prisoners have lined up, Russian forces appear to open fire. The videos then appear to show Russian soldiers approaching those who were only wounded and shooting them again at close range with machine guns. The video has not been independently verified. Under international humanitarian law, executing soldiers who have surrendered is considered a war crime. This is the largest reported case of execution of Ukrainian POWs on the front line, and yet another indication that the killing and torture of prisoners of war are not isolated incidents. Ukraine's Prosecutor General Andriy Kostin said on X, "This is a deliberate policy of the Russian military and political leadership." Ukraine's Commissioner for Human Rights, Dmytro Lubinets, said he had contacted both the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross over the deaths, citing violations of the Geneva Conventions, which govern the treatment of prisoners of war. Okay, so this is the alleged video that was popping up even on X. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show it to you guys. We can go full screen and kind of get a screenshot of this. But this video is just showing up all over social media right now. And they're trying to independently verify and make sure that this is Russian forces executing Ukrainians. But we have heard this so many times, probably 2 or 3 times just in the last few months. We've heard stories of Ukrainian prisoners being executed by Russian forces after they're captured. Okay, many times they'll literally just surrender, and then soon after they're being shot in the middle of the road. We've seen this many times. think there was even a time where there was a Ukrainian soldier that was executed with a sword. I heard one time too. So absolutely insane if this happens to be the case. But unfortunately, I can't show you this video because it appears to be very graphic the further that it goes along. So don't want to have any issues with that. But if you guys want to look for it online, I'm sure you can easily find it on X. But yeah, we'll wait for official confirmation on that. That could be huge news. Okay, 16 soldiers at once being executed by Russian soldiers potentially on the Eastern Front in the Donetsk region. So that could be very, very big news in terms of Russia if that happens to be true. So we'll wait to see what's going to happen. I think right now Ukraine is conducting an investigation to see if that is true, if these allegations are false or real. So yeah, guys, just wanted to share some quick updates coming out from Ukraine. That's all I got here for you today, though. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.